Shalom. Kahalam La Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Bashim Racha HaKodash. Double honors to my teachers, the head apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and Kazak Shalom to the hopeful elect. Real quick, I wanted to touch on a precept that I quoted and didn't bring out, and I wanted to play a small clip of this video. Just wanted to add to pretty much the video that I did before. Not necessarily a correction, but an adding to, because I only focused on really one aspect of what Trump will be doing. I didn't really go in depth, but after doing a little bit more research, a little bit more digging, I found a video 3 months ago on the Wall Street Journal that it really shows the division I was talking about, and it explains a little bit more who else is affected by Trump's recent actions. So this is Isaiah 19:2. It says, "And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom." So the Lord is sending that spirit of division out. Again, quoting that Revelation 11:8, spiritually, America is Egypt and Sodom. Egypt because of the captivity of the Israelites. And it's going to be race wars. It's going to be race riots. It's going to be contention. The LGBTQ plus against the straights, the heteros. Black against white. The NRA versus people who are against guns. Is somehow, some way, Lord's going to send a spirit of division. The atheist versus the religious, It's going to be states versus states. It could be civil wars, But
elect Donald Trump's plan
fair use.
Abolish the Department of Education.
I'm going to close the Department of Education and move education back to the states. And we're going to do it fast.
President-elect Trump will not eliminate the Department of Education. And this will be just another unfulfilled campaign promise, like getting Mexico to build a wall.
Look, President Trump has laid out the most aggressive, boldest, most conservative reform agenda for education in this nation's history.
This weaponization of the Federal Department of Education will just be disastrous.
So why do Trump and some Republicans want to dismantle the Department of Education? And what would that look like?
I think all those federal employees are going to be fired from their jobs. We're going to do away with the agency. That building needs to go away. It needs to be something else.
The U.S. Department of Education, the smallest of the cabinet-level agencies, has more than 4,400 employees and a budget of $79 billion.
Education is mostly a state and local issue, but what the Department of Education does is pretty important.
The department handles Title I funding for high-poverty K-12 schools and IDEA funding for students with disabilities. At the higher ed level, it distributes federal student aid, including loans and Pell Grants. The Office for Civil Rights enforces laws like Title IX, protecting against gender-based discrimination.
It's fighting for equity, a focus on excellence, and really driving and scaling innovation. Those are three roles I think are critically important.
Duncan is now the leader of Chicago Cred, a nonprofit working to reduce gun violence.
Let's take IDEA very specifically, children with special needs. As you know, historically, those children were actually denied access to going to public schools. And it took the federal government to come in and provide access to children with special needs. There are over 7.5 million children with special needs that receive billions of dollars of additional funding from the U.S. Department of Education. And guess what? You want accountability for those resources.
Superintendent Walters says school accountability should shift from the federal government to parents.
There's nobody who loves their child more or who cares more about their child than their mom and dad. So the more that we empower them through school choice, through transparency and accountability measures, what you're going to see is all schools are going to get better.
Trump faces an uphill battle to abolish the Department of Education. It would take an act of Congress to
So that was the point I wanted to make. Both appear to be Edomites, both American citizens, but one is for the dismantling of the Department of Education and making that the sole responsibility of the state. And the other one sees the benefits of the federal funding. And Trump, his views more so align with, the Edomite from Oklahoma. But your plan consists of, 4,400 employees being cut, and that funding that would have went towards education going somewhere else. And those of us in the know all roads lead to the chip. So if this ain't proof that Trump is that cruel Lord, and, the scriptures talk about never trust thy enemy. These Edomites do not have pure intentions. Because it sounds good talking about, making certain things your responsibility and how much we love our kids, but we know damn well Jake don't have the money for certain shit. And we know damn well that no matter what comes out of this devil's mouth, as a matter of fact, Sirach 12:10, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. It's inevitable for iron to rust eventually. Just like Esau is going to reveal his true wicked intentions. It says, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not altogether been wiped away. So though he pretend to be on your side, hey buddy, those smooth words, we know that's the same devil who did that shit to Gad and had war in his heart the whole time. Never trust a smooth talking Edomite in the suit, a quote unquote God fearing man. Lord willing, post this video in the description, but they're trying to bring religion back into the schools. Again, all this is contributing to the spirit of division. And that's why the Lord tells us not to trust him. We don't trust in this system. It don't matter what they got going on. Just know that this is the Titanic and it's sinking. Verse 12, set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. Right? So this devil can't be trusted. Job 30, you can't even keep this sick bastard by your dog. Esau is that thief and that killer that the scriptures talk about. He came to steal, kill, and destroy. He is that monster in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. He's insatiable. He cannot be satisfied. He is as death. Verse 13, who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beasts? So you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And that's exactly what you do when you trust in Esau. And if you lay down with dogs, you're bound to get fleas. We're able to identify the wicked through the precepts and through the Holy Spirit. So now we know, hey, it don't matter what he say, it matters what he does. And if his spirit goes back to Esau, then he is the wicked. And eventually it's going to manifest itself. It's going to reveal itself. This is Sirach 14:5. It says, he that is evil to himself, to whom will he be good? He shall not take pleasure in his goods. And the reason I pulled this precept is because, Esau is willing to do whatever it takes. That includes screwing over his own people. Because you think about it, just going back in terms of this video, let's use the 4,400 plus employees. Good majority of those probably Edomites. It's not just Jake, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans with disability or need help with financial aid to fast for the Pell Grant. But Esau don't give a damn. Same way he pollutes the water that he has to drink. The same way as GMOs and all types of harmful chemicals that the FDA allows in our food, that this devil has to eat and feed to his own people, the middle class and poor. Whom will he be good to? But he got the smooth words, he got the credentials, he got a relatively lofty position. And y'all listen to him, you'll extol his words to the clouds. So whether it's Trump or the devil supported him, or the devil's against him, if he was a devil, because most true heathens don't give a fuck about Jake. Point being, we identify who the wicked is through the scriptures. And we know that if Trump is successful in this and he get the votes needed, then that's going to make life a lot harder for a lot of people. Depending on how the state handle these matters would be up to them. But, saying all that to say, like I referenced in the first video, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is ultimately in control. And all roads lead to the mandatory implementation of the CHIP. We have the inside scoop. We are seeing this movie from a different perspective than the rest of the world because through the presets, we have the director's cut. The Lord gave us a little bit of insight as to what's going on so we can understand and move accordingly and abide in the fear of the Lord. So Lord willing, this is edifying. Shalom.